Okay, deceptive cadence is meant to be F minor. Good afternoon, good evening to folks who are tuning in. Whatever you just heard is, I'm going to leave it as a surprise. I don't know how you felt about that sequence you just heard. It will eventually come back to relate to our centerpiece, which is still Opus 15, number 3, Chopin Nocturne. Just to remind you, since yesterday I had a technical problem with the laptop, I couldn't stream. So I would like to remind you of what we have so far. Let's give it a listen. Let's give the opening a listen. Let's see whether this scratches certain what is the word? Auditory itches. Okay, so I don't think I can hold myself, so I was just actually playing through. Didn't entirely feel good about this. But we can still sort of, this serves as a reminder of what the piece is about. What we mentioned from the first time is that the opening material this part never made a comeback. The only repetition was made earlier in the piece, per usual, Chopin style. There was no what's called recapitulation of this main theme. It seems it's a very, I think it's a very definitive, very driving theme, right? I think I made similar comments about this piece being in the same key as the Tchaikovsky June Barcarolle, and it has a little bit of that feeling. So of course, Tchaikovsky is more elaborate with the melody, but the idea I think is quite similar. It's quite similar. And then not only about the main melody, we spoke about the left-hand accompaniment because it is rather odd after coming out from 15 number 1. So has that kind of raindrop feeling, or from the previous one. So this is like a lullaby. This is like a lullaby. This is like a berceuse, if you will. This is like a lullaby. Okay. Okay, so the third one. So two configurations from top down. It's a large baggage of a drop. It's like throwing a rock down. And then there's a second figure, which is the lift. So this pattern competes with harmony to bring harmonic tension, to bring whatever that you feel that is different, and maybe these different figures, they serve the purpose. Okay, we went through the piece, we heard some details, and then we reached a middle section, which is, you hear this. All of a sudden the tide has turned. So I'm going to play 4 bars before it turns. Okay, I'm just going to stop here. So maybe if you're live here, if you're not away from the keyboard, also if you're live in the room here, the harmonic turns, ups and downs are probably better captured. But still, I would like to mention precisely what you're seeing on the board on the sheet right now is the start of the turn at the middle of the page. So this is where we sort of stopped off last time. It brings the intricacy in terms of the harmonies here, which translates to emotional up and downs, is very frequent. we know there exist emotional changes, but the rate at which this is happening is also very high. I'm turning into a mathematician right now, applied mathematician right now. So it's just the frequency that is high. So if frequency is high, you're requesting the listener to listen to many things. But you need a baseline. You need a baseline of things saying that, okay, these are the things that don't change, and please pay attention to the things that change. And guess what? The things that stay in the same figure, that formulates sort of the non-moving background, is two things. First thing is, you will notice, even on the sheet right now, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So here's my example. I don't want you to read the notes. I just want you to look at what the contour is in the left hand. You'll notice that there's always going to be a second note that is lower, and they're actually about the same depth as every measure. That's the constant part. That's one of the constant parts. So you will keep hearing something that's hit low, but they are the same. They will change from line to line, but you hear them a lot for a long time. In fact, you hear this note. I'm going to play this section. Certainly I have to make sure that I play all the correct notes, but I hit most of them. The left hand actually hits either this note or it hits a very exaggerating, exaggerating octave, very low. It's very dramatic because it's reaching the highest points of this part. You need to break off. You need to break off the tension. I mean, you cannot just keep accruing tension without resolving. I mean, Wagner did that. But he eventually still resolved after 3 hours or 4 hours. So this is a nocturne. This is a smaller scale piece. It's a salon piece. So you got to resolve it. You got to resolve the tension here. Okay. So earlier I was saying you keep hitting the same note. So that's one common ground that is representing the non-moving background. And the other part is actually exactly this drop action. Remember earlier we were saying that, okay, you had all drops. This is the opening, and then you have a lift. And it seems actually harmonically in particular this lift, you felt a little better because it's warmer. It's not brighter, it's warmer. It is not as cold as the G minor. Yeah, the temperature has changed into a warmer middle section. Okay. There is your differences, but now what I'm saying here is this drop action formulates another part of the non-moving background. Basically your auditory system is being battered with the action of dropping, and a low single, the same note down there. So this two facet formulates actually tension, because something is kept constant and something else is changing. And what Chopin did here, I'm going to just play out the right hand without left hand, because the left hand sounds about the same. Yes? Okay, so. That's the highest point. Sounds like porridge here, right? Sounds like porridge. I agree. It meant to sound like porridge. This is so crazy because something is not moving, there are two facets that are not moving, that are not doing much, yet there's some other parts that are somehow allowed so much freedom to do whatever they want. Are they necessarily matching up with the harmony? Maybe not. Maybe some of them is extremely free, so that you're not hearing something as harmonic, let's say, as something as harmonious as something like this, or even as opening, something normal if you take that word. But here, how is this going to be resolved? So I'm not going to over-explain here. This is just, think of it as porridge, but think of it as intensifying porridge. It's actually, you can even think of it as actual porridge, which is what you are boiling on in the kitchen, on the stove. And it is reaching that moment where your porridge will spill. Actually, think of it truthfully, think of it that way. This is musical porridge, but also it can represent physical porridge. But any porridge must, you're gonna shut the stove, or you're gonna close the lid or something, right, to cool it off. And the way to cool it off sounds like exactly the same way as it was brought up. So it was then cooled off by to me, this is still porridge. There's one thing that you can absolutely draw here. I'm going to play, because this is a much bigger scheme here. I'm going to point to the score, where the score is. Okay, so let's look at this part of the porridge, which is when you open the lid and then you see things are boiling and they're about to spill, and then you're going to turn the stove off, you're going to take the pot away. And the way that I see it is actually so it's massive, loads of chords. I don't want you to focus on most of the chords. But some parts of the chord must play a role in reducing the fire. You can say, okay, maybe is it the melody? It doesn't even sound like melody. Actually, if you just play this alone, I don't even think that this is nice. Okay, so no way that we can examine anything from the top line. There's no way from the melody. Now, since the top line has sometimes 3 notes in a chord or sometimes 2 notes in a chord, I'm going to completely disregard it. Completely disregard it. What I'm going to do is go to the left hand. Because the left hand, I have everything on the same ground. My left hand, they always have 2 notes. You're only just playing 2 notes at the same time. So let me try to find a pattern there and see what's going on. So let's play it. So one voice at a time, just in the left hand. I don't know which one sounds worse, but I like this a little more. Okay, so all right. If you don't believe me, let's look at the second line, which is the lowest tails. I'm not saying they sound better than, but I'm saying they have a bit more pattern. They're like scales. we may feel, hey, is this chromatic? Well, it's not entirely chromatic. There's some part that is not chromatic. Neither is the lowest line. There's nothing there. Now, if you really want to be pedantic, you could look at the one that I'm about to highlight here. So this is the right hand, but the lowest note. I'm just going to say, again, what the hell? Right hand, other than they're all exactly a fifth apart, so. Other than that pattern, they don't sound very well together. Now, if I play them all together, this is the only time where we have a nice sound. This is pretty spurious as well. It's a large question resolution. But you must be thinking, okay, well, even before a question, what is leading up to the question? So this is actually what I usually call the place where, I mean, this kind of requires a bit of Chinese background, is basically, so in Chinese, it's going to be 味杂陈. So 5 spices. Just think about like you have 5 different spices in your mouth, and it tastes like that. So this is after an entire build up into, from the lower register with something common, build into something that I'm going to call 5 spice. And this 5 spice is actually something, now you can probably taste this for a very long time, and then you're able to say, okay, I can taste this, I can taste actually the pepper, and then I can taste the salt or something, right? Like you can distinguish the taste profiles after a while. But the moment the 5 spice hits you, you can't really tell which one is the most prominent. And that's what I feel here. And the most prominent one is whatever one you feel. That's the beauty of this, is it gave the listeners freedom to choose how they feel. And if it is porridge, sure, it's meant to be porridge here. Okay, so enough about porridge. I think I made my point. But now, after porridge, what do we have? Now, usually after porridge is you take the stuff off the stove, and you cool it off, you eat it, or you maybe find burnt parts at the bottom, which is usually what happens with me. Okay, then you have to scrape it off, right? Now, scraping things off takes a little while. So, if you were on the route to you're still trying to identify a taste from all 5 spices, then you're still in luck, because Chopin gave you the time to do it. Whatever came out afterwards, I will play for you here. Whatever came out afterwards is whatever you wanted to focus on. But it may not resolve. It may not resolve for some people. So let me play this part and try to end into basically on your screen here, the end of the line here, which is then transitions into what I call section B, if you will, section B. Excuse me, sorry. I meant to play this right. Still wrong. So I'm not going to go on because it's really important what's coming up. So now I took liberties of sort of slowing down and taking my time and then trying to do whatever is not said on the score. But the idea is that you have all of a sudden impulse, which goes echo, and then impulse, and then impulse again, last one. It'll be a little bit more subdued. And then you hit, what note are we hitting? What note are we hitting here? Precisely the same pedal note that you heard earlier. So this story has a close. It has revolved around itself and find its common ground with previous materials again. So then you came back here, but certainly not going to play the same material again. Chopin has to lead you somewhere else. Has to lead you somewhere else. So whatever spice that after you have tasted in the in the 5 spices, you're left with that feeling, whatever yours is. And we go on now into what I'm going to call actually one of the glorious moments of Chopin's Nocturne. Now, many people talk about Chopin's Nocturne, about, let's say, all the famous ones, and then maybe for all the Chopin lovers who eventually play a lot of Chopin work, and they, for example, I can mention that, for example, for those who play this, overdid the stretto, but the this work is also very well known, and there's of course a very big climax in the end. So this whole piece is an epic. Sure. And then you may have other ones like the ones Opus 62 number 1, Opus 62 number 2. These are later works. I don't quite find a place like what you're about to hear. This is the earlier I said this. I think this is the most glorious moments of Chopin's Nocturne. At least, you can argue. I'm going to say up to this point in his compositions. But I learned. I mean, at least I've read all Chopin Nocturnes. I've heard them all, and multiple times. Even did studies. And Nathan and I, we did actually listen to all basic Nocturnes that were tested in the competition. And I don't find. Now, of course, 15.3, unfortunately being too easy, as they say it, is never on the program. You can choose it, but it's never required. Yet this moment was so in my opinion, underappreciated. So let me start by saying, let me zoom in onto the part where how we start, because the part repeats, right? The part repeats. So I'm going to talk about one time, and you take it the second time, whichever way you want to. What I've highlighted here is an 8-bar phrase. Now, 8-bar phrase shouldn't be kind of a new knowledge here. 8-bar phrases happens very often. Think of it as one stanza or one line of a poem. You match in words, you match sometimes even in intonation and pronunciation. So 8-bar phrases are great to have. They are systematic, they're structured. You can make cross comparisons to see differences. What I'm showing you here is not just the phrase itself. The one word I would like you to focus on is actually sits on the very top of the box here. Religioso. The Italian word means exactly what you think it means in English. It's religious. But you can almost say this is, this is played with piety. That's why I constantly mention that Chopin's sort of association with churches. In Opus 15 number 1, I mentioned that maybe this is a walk by in the rain, in the little drizzle, that Chopin heard things, and then he went inside to wait for the torrential rain in the middle section, and then he started talking to the fathers, or maybe he's just talking to himself as a way of repent. So here, religioso. What is this? Okay, the piano does this part zero justice, in my opinion. I wish that this part is sung by a 4-part harmony by some choir. This is a chorale, and you should find people to sing this with the top in lady's voice and then the bottom in guy's voice. And this part will automatically change how you think about how religious this part is. It starts this way, carrying almost like the bell from before, but then it leads down. I don't know how you feel. You can say that this is the time where the door is opened and then you started walking into the church and you felt the quietness of you felt, let's say, the tranquility of the space. You felt the space also. And then because you're only observing with your own eyes, you're constrained to the sights of to angles that of your eyes can see. But your peripheral vision is still picking up lots of lights, because typically in a church you have lights piercing, but only on the top of the church. So your peripheral vision sees light, and you want to chase it, because maybe you just came from a very dark place. The whole piece starts pretty dark. You came from a dark place, but then you're raising your eyes to chase the light, and this is what I feel. This is precisely this moment. The left hand is acting as the chase. You overshot, and then you landed on the thing that you're looking at, or something caught your attention, and you felt relieved. Something is relieved. and then you carry on with that eyesight. Stay exactly here. So there's repetition, right? So basically just look across these 6 lines, but 2 by 2 by 2. Just look at the shape of them. They look very similar, right? Except the last one, you go back a little bit, but then the shape is the same. So you developed from the previous 8 bars up to a point where you're feeling finally relieved of something. So you were in the physical act of chasing something. What should be opposites of physical? Then it's something internal. Something is internal. Something is emotional. So after you chase to some physical relaxation, you now have what? You now have sort of internalization of that experience. And usually these things, Chopin is an emo guy, often beats himself down. He always looks inward, and he looks almost pessimistically, because the previous section was going up, was optimistic. And then internally he brings him down. So that's why you have the melody that is rapping back. You were climbing up, and then now you are rapping back. Now, is this a normal, let's say, development of any melody? I actually disagree. Some melodies will start high and start coming down, start contracting. That's already a sign of something pessimistic. I have examples, but I'm not going to go too far here. So whatever I'm saying here is there is a physical space that you're exploring, and then there's also another emotional space, abstract emotional space that you're exploring, and then they came all the way down to what we have here is. Back again. And then you repeat. To me, Chopin wrote some of the weirdest he broke the convention of saying minor key is sad and major key is I think he broke major conventions in a lot of places, because I have, for example, there is a very sad chord. Unfortunately, I cannot play the part before it. So if you are aware, I would highly recommend that you listen to this, which is Chopin Prelude, Opus 28, number 8, which is the very fast one. This one with all the internal notes that I don't know how to play. But the way he ended the piece is. And the chord that I want to highlight, sorry, it's not on the score, and you just listen. So earlier you had this. This chord is an A major chord. It's the saddest A major chord that I can hear. Now, the reason why I bring this up is that earlier in this piece, you went through all the emotional journey to get to the up point, and then eat some 5 spice, overboil your porridge, and then you cool it off, you you take the time to taste which spice that stands out to you, and then this is an A minor chord. I'm going to point out to you on the page here. When I said A minor chord, usually minor chords are sad. Like I'm not playing this right. Okay, but okay. Sorry, that was a terrible example, but what I meant to say is minor chords are usually sad, just like the opening, right? Just like the opening of the piece. All minor in a major section. This is a dominant 7. But that chord earlier that I just showed you, that, to me, that's the happiest A minor chord. Because the tension was way too big earlier. So now when you found, I'm going to call the word solace, that's the chord of solace. Because you found your peace in this environment of, let's say, religioso. So you found it. This is the largest amount of tension being released in one single chord. And then you go on to go about your business in the physical act of, let's say, observing, chasing the light, chasing something that you feel optimistic. And then you look inwards, that's Chopin for you again. I mean, no surprise there. You go forward, you repeat the section. They are exactly the same. I'm not gonna go forward. So that's the case. That's how it is. So this entire B section is physical, emotional. You repeat front and back, but all taken into account that this came from porridge. This came from 5 spice. Okay, so you wrapped up. Very optimistic. So, what's going on here? I just played a section. It went from I don't know. The first time that I heard this actually was again Rubinstein, right? I don't know what this part is about. It is some kind of a what's the word? No. So okay. So this part is also 4 parts, as you can see on the score here. Let me zoom in just on the important bits. It's so simple. This is so simple. So you have one note on the very top, very clear, but everything else was actually low. You have an if you just look at the sheet music right now, you see what? You see bam with all the FZ, right? And then you wait for a bit. And then you hit again. And then you hit again. You hit again. So I mean, there is a pattern. There's a pattern. What are these loud notes? And what are these quieter notes? They're in 4 parts. You may say, okay, there's another hymn, basically the continuation of this, of the previous section, which is the religioso 4-part harmony business. It could well be, this is singable too. This is very singable. You can ask, let's say, the soprano and the tenor to hold their voice on, and then the rest of the people, they do the quieter whispering. So you have an internal strong line being developed. Okay, again, I'm still just talking nonsense here. This is just all physics. This is all just physical observations. What are they? How is this even related to the religioso, other than the people singing the song is the same? This is the intriguing part, which I don't think I can find closure right now. I don't think I can. All I can hear is just a painting of events, but I can't make sense of what it is. Is this part almost standing out from the previous section? There's no chorale. This is not a chorale. This is not a earlier section, as if you're dropping baggage. You're not doing that. No, not at all. So that's why earlier I was calling it A section. You go into religioso, it's B section. Here, because the form has changed so much, I take it as a section C. If you want to take it as B+, fine by me. But I think this is almost a standalone section C. Usually this place is section A coming back. Because after you play section B, you have a reprise, and then you come back and play section B. But no, this is not happening here. This is just another way of looking at it. So maybe it will be a good time now to tell you the backstory of when Chopin composed this, what he is doing. So Chopin is already in Paris at this time. So he left his homeland, Poland, for a long time, already for a long time. This is not too long. So, this is written when he was 23. When did he leave Poland? I think in the teens, right? In the teens. This nocturne is actually labeled as At the Cemetery. Now, Chopin is not physically at a cemetery. But this is actually also, we have a historical context. He recently watched Hamlet. And then he had the inspiration to compose a piece along the line of this. Now, I'm not very well read, so I never read Hamlet. Maybe this is the reason I should read Hamlet. So, for those who are listening right now, if you know the full story of Hamlet, maybe this is the time that you connect with this piece, especially the piece at the back. Especially when we're wrapping up here. So, I have no idea how this whole thing is going to fan out. All I know is this whole piece, this section C, is mysterious to me, but it still ends. It still ends. What chord did I end on? This is a major, G major chord. So Chopin went progressive. He started G minor, which is all the darkness, and then he went a little brighter, but low. I mean, if I ended here, I think this will be a pretty angelic, right? No, it's not there. It's down there. It's down there. So it meets his characterization that this is at the cemetery. It connects to the story of Hamlet. But how does it really work? I think to have full closure, I probably need to read Hamlet for a little bit at least. So I don't know how everybody feels. Now this is of course a rather dark nocturne, but I think in terms of musical output, this is also simple. This is like not requiring extensive technique to play something extremely well. But I think it takes a lot of reading to actually understand the piece, and then to be able to achieve what it means, or then eventually what you want it to mean. I'm unfortunately on the other side of the story, or on the other side of sort of, let's say, interpretive freedom, is that the moment that you understand what the original composer wants, then you get to do what you want. Certainly to not obscure far away from what it was meant originally. Your story, if you want to paint it, it better fit the work, right? But only after you know what Chopin wants to do here, and that's why I feel I'm short-handed right now, not having the experience of reading Hamlet. Hamlet was unfortunately not one of those plays that was required in high school. We read Twelfth Night, we read Othello, I forgot. But Hamlet was not one of them. I think some other class read Hamlet. So, yeah. I'm going to let everybody decide what to feel in the last page of this work. I highly recommend listening to recordings of this work. Now, to really close the deal here, what I earlier, the opening thing that I played at the beginning of this entire business here, I played something else that maybe you are not aware of, maybe you don't know. It is actually Chopin Opus 37, number 1. I'm not going to show you the score, but I will play it again. So it's also in the middle section as well. And also, I'm not going to play the piece, everything. So you will have no context, but I will just let you hear it in the middle, and then let's end.